So, the Chargers come into this game at 5-8. Offensively, they are 10th in total offense with 375.7 yards per game, 5th in passing yards at 278.5, tied for 11th in sacks allowed at 27, 22nd in rushing yards at 97.2. They are tied 21st in yards per carry at 4.1. And they're 8th in third down percentage at 44%. However, just 18th in points per game at 22.2 per game. Defensively, they are a lot more stout than I initially thought they would be. They are 4th in total defense at 304.8, 4th in passing yards allowed at 196.6, but they are, however, tied for 25th in sacks with only 27 of them, which apparently is their magic number for sacks because they also only allowed 27. They're 17th in rushing yards allowed at 108.2. They are tied for 10th in yards per carry at 4.1. And they are 24th in third down percentage at 43%. But they are, however, 8th in points per game allowed at 19.3. Their injury report is super short. It's one player, Uchenna Nwosu. I hope I said that right. He's a linebacker. Ankle injury. He is questionable. Minnesota, they come in 9-4. Offensively, 11th in total offense at 374.8. 4th in rushing yards at 135.8. And they are tied for 14th in yards per carry at 4.4. 14th in passing yards per game at 239.1. 7th in sacks allowed with 23. 10th in third down percentage at 44%. And they are 7th in points per game at 26.1. Defensively, they are 14th in total defense at 338.5, 16th in passing yards allowed at 236.6, 9th in sacks with 38. They are 11th in rushing yards allowed at 101.8 and tied for 12th in yards per carry at 4.2. 17th in third down percentage at 39% and 7th in points per game allowed at 19.2. So these numbers are obviously on the downside of the Zimmer defense, especially considering recent years. But I do think a decent chunk of those numbers are still at least in the respectable range. Maybe you don't fear it, but it's like, okay, they're fine. Okay, I guess. So it's a little disappointing to see how far it's fallen, though. Injury report, though, it's larger. Alexander Madison, he is out with an ankle. Jaron Kearse out with a toe. Rhodes is questionable with an ankle, and some would say he's questionable as a football player these days. And Olabisi Johnson's questionable with a quad. And there's no injury designation for Thielen this week, so he is going to play. I was kind of waiting on this video, though, just because, well, their injury report, it doesn't list whether or not players were fully participating, limited, or just not participating for today. So I kind of wanted more on the Thielen thing, but he's only been limited in the 2 days they have listed. Well, at least at the time of making this video, that's how that looks. Yeah. So Thielen, though, we might have to monitor a little bit. Don't know if he's on a pitch count. Don't know if he's going to be all that used. Something to watch there. But, yep, going into thoughts now. So that pass defense, which of the Chargers is 4th in passing yards allowed, like I said, allowing only a shade under 197 a game. It's a little leakier than one would think. They are 21st in quarterback rating allowed at 95.4 and 31st in completion percentage allowed at 69.5. So, what does that mean? That means they'll give you the short things. They're going to give you those screens. They're going to give you some slants. They're going to give you things like that. They're going to give you some underneath quick hitting throws. And part of that has to be due to the fact that they have some pass rushers in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, and I assume we're going to be no different. It's going to be a lot of quick hitting, hoping your guy breaks the tackle. So obviously that tackle breaking is key because that's where a lot of these explosive plays against the Chargers probably have to come from, which means get a lot of Dalvin Cook out in space, get a lot of Diggs in space. A lot of that. Irv Smith is a guy that I would assume probably has a bigger role today. Not today, this weekend. My bad. And getting Dalvin going would actually be really helpful. They didn't get him going last week. Hopefully that changes this week against. Once again, this is a team like Minnesota where maybe the rush defense doesn't scare you, but it's respectable. I know it's 17th in total rushing yards allowed per game at 108.2, but they are tied 10th in yards per carry allowed at 4.1, which is something I would look more at than the total yardage with these, because you can have a great rush defense in yards per carry, but if you're always down, you're going to have accumulative rush yards against you. But they don't allow all of the rushing yards per carry, at least. And so it's going to be kind of crucial to move those big bodies in that 3-4, which is something I'm a little concerned about because this kind of offensive line against a 3-4 doesn't always work. But if you can get Dalvin going, obviously that opens up things down the field and off of those play action fakes. And hopefully those play action fakes can open up Dalvin. It's a nice little mutual bond there. And don't be giving Los Angeles the short field. And stay on the field, because I think if those are pretty two crucial non-rocket scientist things to be doing, because they are 24th and third down percentage on a defensive side, so 43%, not very good. Just try to keep it in the third and manageable, which is once again where Dalvin comes in, because you need to be able to run the ball. And with no Alexander Madison, I would assume you might see even more CJ Ham, just maybe a little bit more unconventional uses of CJ Ham. It's a little interesting who they use as the power back, because I don't know how creative they get, because if they want to put Irv Smith back there, even I don't know if it would work, but it would be interesting to see. CJ Ham is the most likely candidate, I would think, for the power back duties for this game. So that being said, Mike Boone and Amir Abdullah probably going to have an expanded role in this game. But yeah, don't give them a short field, though, because they will probably score, and you don't need that. No turnovers. No turnovers, always good. And by no turnovers, I'm not really concerned about Cousins throwing the football to them with interceptions. It's mostly about protect Cousins, make sure no strip sacks happen against Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, and those guys. And defensively, you need to be able to find a way to stop Gordon and Eckler. I imagine Eckler is going to be covered up by Kendricks most of the day, because he's kind of their more receiving back of the two, where Gordon kind of runs their power more so. But I would imagine Kendricks is on Eckler when they come out. And this secondary will be heavily tested this week with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hunter Henry. So I'm kind of interested to see how that holds up, because if you're saying Kendricks is on Eckler, that means Barr is likely on Hunter Henry. So can Barr hold up, and it's going to be a good test to see how this corner rotation kind of works, where we kind of saw it better last week than we did the week before after the bye against Seattle, where I think it was definitely handled a lot better and there was improvement, although some will say, well, you were facing a third-string quarterback, which is like, okay, cool. But now you got Phillip Rivers, veteran, see how it works. And speaking of Rivers, he doesn't really move around a whole bunch. So you need to find a way to get to him, and he has that weird sidearm thing, which means when you don't get there, you need to kind of know where you're putting your hands when you go to knock it down. And I will assume they will probably be hitting Minnesota with a lot of those quick throws just to try to nullify Griffin Hunter. So a lot of Austin Eckler probably, I would think. A lot of Eckler and Hunter, maybe some screens out wide to a guy like Travis Benjamin or Keenan Allen, or those kind of guys. You might see that quite a bit. I'm just assuming you're going to get more quick hitting stuff. Rivers is third in the league in interceptions right now with 15, which means, at least for this season, he is going to give you some chances. You need to take the opportunity and capitalize on said chances. So, and you also need to prevent the big plays, as they are tied for 7th in passing plays of 20 plus, which is kind of with 50 of them, which is that mark for what you consider an explosive passing play, that 20 plus mark. So, Rhodes, don't be doing that all the time. And my prediction for this is I have Minnesota winning 24-20. I do think it's obviously going to be close, but the Chargers, you can't sleep on the Chargers. I know the record says, 5-8, 9-4. Yeah, guess who's going to win that game? Like, I know some people might take that approach, but on the other hand, when you look at these numbers, this is a clear playoff team. If it weren't for Phillip Rivers having, third most interceptions in the entire league. So if he's not throwing possessions away, they'd probably have more points. More points leads to more wins, and Chargers might be en route to the playoffs right now. So do not take this team lightly. It's still very good. They have talent. Derwin James is back. Hunter Henry's pretty good. So is Keenan Allen. You got the two running backs. Their offensive line isn't that great for the most part, which is why I would also assume they get the quick hitting plays a lot here. And you just got to try to find a way to blow those up so you can put them in those third and longs and take advantage of that. And I'm thinking Minnesota probably has enough talent to do that. I'm just concerned with offensively, can you break enough tackles to make those explosive plays that you need? That's where, if they do end up losing this game, I think that's where they likely fall up short. I'm not sure. Now, I could be completely wrong, but that's what I think. I would like to know your comments down below. And liking, subscribing always helps. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.